Welcome to the Healing Heart podcast, where all healing is always a matter of the heart. I'm your host, Donna Campbell, also known as the Mind Whisperer, interviewing guest experts on all matters of healing. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Healing Heart podcast. My name is Donna Campbell, and I am your host. And I am so fascinated by my guest today. It's been truly amazing talking to her in the pre-interviews because of her wealth and knowledge and wisdom with everything that she's been doing. Desiree Lim is an award-winning Canadian filmmaker. She is multilingual, a cultural hybrid. She grew up in Malaysia and Japan, and she has written, directed, and produced documentaries, lifestyle shows, and new segments for both the Canadian and Japanese television since 1996. And before moving into writing and directing drama in 2000. So her independent films have been screened worldwide at international film festivals to sold out audiences. But in 2012, Desiree began a journey of a spiritual awakening and found her calling as a spiritual healer. Trained by the renowned Tao Grandmaster Dr and Master Jigang Shah, Desiree is a certified master teacher and healer applying Tao healing through the healing arts of Tong, of Tao Song and Tao Calligraphy for helping others in healing and transforming all aspects of life. And since 2017, she has been serving Vancouver's LGBTQ Community Center by leading the Rainbow Light Meditation Group to promote mindfulness and wellness within the community. And she is also the host of Queer Love Light podcast, that is a portal to share spiritual wisdom and practical tools for healing and modern day spirituality. So everybody, welcome Desiree Lim to our show. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Donna. I really appreciate this honor to be on your show, and I really want to thank you for putting these stories and healing out there through your show. So thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And it's so amazing and so important because I believe all healing is a matter of the heart, and that we've had such an amazing response that everybody's story needs to be healed because we're all on this transformational journey together. So I'm so excited to have you because we get to learn a little bit more about you and your transformational journey and your own healing. Now, you were a filmmaker, you were doing a lot of things in the industry. I've watched a few of them. I'm totally amazed with what you're able to do and what you can produce. But in 2017, I do believe it said that you, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you, or no, excuse me, 2012, there we go. You began your own journey of a spiritual awakening and found your calling as a spiritual healer. So share with us and our audience what you were going through and what transitioned you into the spiritual healing that you do today.
Yeah, thank you, Donna, for asking. You know, it's been quite a journey for me. And if you asked me 10 years ago, if I see myself doing what I'm doing today, which is combining my filmmaking career with healing, I would have said very, very honestly that you are crazy. It is that far of a stretch for me to be doing what I do today because I have to say, you know, as a filmmaker, I thought I was on a trajectory of becoming, you know, an independent filmmaker telling LGBTQ stories, you know, to bring more visibility and empowerment to the LGBTQ community. And that's how I started as a filmmaker. But little did I know, you know, my filmmaking actually became, you know, kind of a launching pad for my very cathartic spiritual awakening. And it was back in 2012, and I was trying to actually jumpstart or kickstart my, I would say at that point, my biggest film, you know, in my career as a filmmaker, and everything fell apart. everything really literally fell apart, financially and all that. And I was in a very difficult place. And it was actually around that time that I met my teacher, Dr. Master Jigang Shah, and I was just doing everything I could to, revitalize the project that fell apart, for mainly for, financial reasons, how filmmaking can be very, very
Yes.
precarious. You
Right.
never know how the funding is going to come together, and, if it ever comes together, and if it does, will it actually, manifest at the very 11th hour. So, so I was actually, sifting through the rubble, if you will, when I was when I met my teacher, and I was really trying to get back on my feet, as a as a filmmaker and as a spiritual being. But at the time, I didn't think of it that way. I was still very much, I would say, in retrospect, very mind and ego driven, very ambitious, wanting to succeed, take my career to the next level. But little did I know it was actually an opportunity that the universe brought to me to look deeper within, what is it that my soul, my true self really wanted me to do or to be. And it was through that self, soul searching that I discovered that that's not necessarily what my soul really wanted me to do. They really wanted me to become a healer and use my filmmaking skills, experience to actually tell stories of healing and actually help bring more healing to the world through spiritual healing. And in my in my case, it's Tao Healing, which I learned through my teacher, Dr. and Master Jigang Shah, who is a Tao Grandmaster, who is known for his not only his healing abilities, but he is well known in well versed in all kinds of ancient arts like Tai Chi, Qigong, Feng Shui, I Ching. He is a grandmaster of all these ancient arts, as well as a Western MD in China and a very, very actually sought after and renowned acupuncturist. So, so over the years, he's actually combined all these ancient art to found his own modality of healing. And he calls it body-mind medicine. And using the principles of Tao healing and using healing arts to channel Tao frequency vibration into the healing modality that he's created called Tao healing. So I was trained by him as a Tao Hands healer practitioner, and I can get into that a little bit more. But how I met him, going back to how I met him, was actually very much, I would say, coincidence, synchronicity. But we know, there's actually no coincidence. It was already planned, by the universe. I one of my best friends, her mom was in ICU, with suffering from a very mysterious illness, actually, a blood infection that the doctors didn't know what to do with her, and she was literally just slipping away. And it was by no coincidence about a year before that I discovered Dr. Shah's work, and then he just happened to be in town. And so I reminded my friend about him. I said, why don't we go check him out? I don't know if he can help, but what do we got to lose? So so we went to his healing event, and that's where I met him in person. And my friend, received some remote healing for her mother, and then my friend had to leave, to take care of her family. But I just never looked back. I just stayed back. at the healing event, and because of what I witnessed happen to my friend's mom, when Dr. Shah asked, us in the retreat, saying, who here would like to become a Tao Hands Healer? And my hands just shot up
Wow.
without even thinking, like, I don't know why even my hands shot up. But in retrospect, my logical rationale mind, tried to explain to me that oh, maybe you can learn something, from this, and if your mom, if my mom happened to experience something like what happened to my friend's mom, at least you can do something about it. So that was sort of like my very naive motivation at the point, without knowing, of course, the universe had a bigger plan for me.
Right.
Right. And so it was from there that I joined the workshop, a later workshop, for the training, and never looked back. So because the more I learned about this modality, and the more I learned about the spiritual journey, the more I awoke to my soul's purpose.
Yes.
Which is to first of all, to awaken my own innate healing power, to heal whatever that I need healing for, first and foremost. I'm generally a very healthy person, but everybody needs healing.
Right.
And it's healing the inner child. He could be healing, healing your your shadow self, which we all have. So that's so, and certainly I going back to, the period that I was in, about the collapse of my career and all that, I certainly needed a lot of healing.
Right.
Even though my mind was so driven to, like, how do I get my career off the ground again, and I was just
Right.
focused on that, and like, healing, what healing, I had no idea. But once I started to receive the training, I then realized there's a bigger picture than what meets the eye.
And before you go into that there, let me ask you, because not everyone is familiar with Tao healing. What is that? And when you talk about hands-on Tao healing, what do you really mean by that?
Right. Thank you for asking that. So Tao Hands basically is a light transmission that you receive from Dr. Shah. He's a channel for these Tao frequencies, vibrations to come down to this plane. So he would transmit a Tao-like transmission called Tao Hands to us. And so you can say that it's like a spiritual light transmission of the Tao into your hands. And you can activate this Tao light transmission for healing yourself or any aspect of life. And the operating principle is, it's actually a very universal principle of how we're all made of frequency and vibration.
Yes.
So we're all vibrational fields. So by having this Tao Hands transmission, we are empowered to connect to the Tao and bring the Tao frequencies through the hands. And there's no touching involved. It's all remote healing. It could be remote or it can be in person, but there's no touching involved at all. It's just sending the frequency vibration to the person who's receiving. And so by channeling the Tao frequency, we're sending the positive frequency vibration to transform whatever that is negative in our frequency vibration that has caused the disease or challenges in our lives. So it's not limited to health conditions. It's actually all aspects of life, because essentially, as Master Shah teaches, everyone and everything is made of a vibrational field.
Right.
So, and it's so, from the perspective of quantum science, it's actually also known as message healing, because you were transforming the messages, the negative messages, the negative frequency vibration in the vibrational field of the person or the thing or the relationship. Even the relationship has frequency vibration, a vibrational field that can be transformed. So it's a modality actually that can be applied in all aspects of life, and that's what's so amazing about it. And I've seen so many heart-touching stories from around the world, using this modality. And I believe you've watched one of the films that I had the privilege to make about Senli Wong, New Lease of Life.
And before we go into that, we'll hold that thought right there. We got to take our sponsor break really quick. And when we come back, let's dive into that. And also, I want to know some of the other healing transformations that you've received and what you've watched others receive as well when we come back. So everyone, stay tuned. You're listening to the Healing Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Donna Campbell, and my guest today is Desiree Lim, and we are talking about Tao Healing. So be back in just a moment. Get what you always wanted. Abundant life is possible. Transform your lifestyle in just weeks with the most innovative system developed for heart-centered business professionals who seek change today. You are one step away from creating infinite prosperity, happiness, and love. Grab your bonus link now that's in the show notes. All right, welcome back to the Healing Heart Podcast. I am your host, Donna Campbell, and our guest today is Desiree Lim, and we are talking about Tao Healing. And she is getting ready to dive into a story of one of her clients that she had who received profound healing. So do share with us all of that.
Thank you. Well, Senli is not really my client. She's one of the people who came to this modality or received healing from, Master Shah himself. So basically, Senli is a mother of three in Australia, and a teacher, a scientist herself, and she has suffered from a very severe mental health condition for decades. It came to a point where she was actually suicidal, and tried to kill herself, 6 times within a span of a year. And so she was, hospitalized over and over again, that her children even needed to be taken away from her because she couldn't care for her family anymore. So she was diagnosed. She was misdiagnosed apparently for depression, and she was on the wrong medication, and for years she's just been suffering with no solution. Until she found Master Shah, and she became trained as a Tao healer, like myself, a Tao Hands healer. So she received the Tao Hands transmission, and what she started to do is that every day she would turn on the Tao Hands and offer herself healing, for her condition. And also she was taught to do what we call energy foundational practices to strengthen her own, innate healing power, through the energy chakras, as many of you may know. So she was doing energy foundational practices that help her activate her own innate healing power, plus the Tao Hands transmission that she's received for healing herself. So, and within a year, her emotions stabilized. And she finally got her life back. She got her life back. She can work again. So her story is truly, truly remarkable. And that's why we made a film about her story. And I'd love you to check it out. And it hopefully will be in the show notes for this episode. Yes, the link it's on YouTube. It's a short little documentary. It's really, really heart touching. So Senli is one of the many, many stories. I've also, seen in another film that I also produced called Carmen. Carmen Caragui, Hope for the Hopeless, and in her case, she was having terminal cancer, She was having terminal cancer, and the doctors couldn't do anything for her. It was just way too late. It was, you know, she had liver cancer. Her liver was like over 80% covered with liver. You know, so there was just nothing else that conventional medicine could do for her at that point. But she didn't give up, and somehow found, you know, Dr. Master Shah, and received this time a Tao-like transmission from the Tao calligraphy. And this is different from Tao Hands. This is like a Tao-like transmission in the, if your spiritual eye is open, you'll see it as a ball of light that comes directly into the afflicted area of your condition, and you can turn it on, turn the light transmission on. It stays with you permanently. So it's a light transmission that stays with you permanently. And then she was given this Tao calligraphy to practice with. You know, we call it the Tao calligraphy Tai Chi. And so basically you meditate in front of it, and you can also do Tai Chi movements by tracing the calligraphy. So you may ask, how does this work, right? Right? So Tao calligraphy is a form of art that, again, Master Shah created and founded himself, because he's a master calligrapher and a lineage holder of this calligraphy lineage called 一笔字, one-stroke calligraphy, that he received from a professor named Professor Li from China, and she, you know, was the only lineage holder for this calligraphy until she was over 100 years old. She didn't pass it on to anybody because it was so sacred that she wanted it to only be inherited by somebody who's worthy of this calligraphy. Yes. And that did not happen until she met Master Shah and decided that he would be her lineage holder. So the Ibitsu calligraphy is just a calligraphy. It's an art. It's a visual art. So it has no healing capacity at all. But what Master Shah did with it is that after becoming the lineage holder, he infused Tao healing frequencies into the Ibitsu calligraphy, and then turned it into Tao calligraphy, which became a transformative healing art. So it means that the calligraphy carries a frequency field, a vibrational field that contains very, very high positive frequency vibration that can transform different conditions in life. And again, it's not just like Tao Hands. It's not limited to just health conditions. It can actually be any aspect of your life. So going back to Carmen, so she received the calligraphy, she received a permanent light transmission, and she started practicing a few hours a day, actually, because her condition is really, really serious, as you can imagine. It's like threatening, right? So within a year, she became cancer-free.
Wow. Truly amazing, just by shifting and changing that vibrational frequency with the light transmission there. And I really think one of the key components and pieces with everything that you're sharing, with the different stories of how people have been overcoming their health issues, obstacles, getting reconnected back to that source energy, that light vibration, was in one of the films that I saw. It talked about that Tao is really about the soul and what the soul is wanting to do and express. And from the soul, it goes to the heart. And then from the heart, it goes to the mind. And then once it goes to the mind, we have belief and thought after that. So can you share with us real briefly, because we're coming up here towards the end of our podcast, how that process works? Because I think that's the key component to what people go through for a transformation.
Yes, thank you. So you just actually summarize it as what we know, what we call as the law of creation. It's called the law of Shen Qi Ying in Chinese, the law of the soul, heart, energy, and matter. So basically, the message level is the soul. The soul is the warehouse of the information. And as we touched upon just now, everyone and everything has a soul. So when you have a disease, like an organ that's failing, for example, the information, the message in that organ or in that condition is already disharmonized. So it needs to be restored, recalibrated on the message level, which is the root cause of all kinds of condition. So from the root cause of the condition, we transform the message, and then the healing will then, go from there, from the energy, from the message level to the energy level that moves the matter, and then the matter, the physical level, will then transform. So it's the opposite direction of how Western medicine works, because Western medicine works from the matter level.
Yes.
Right? From the physical level. So we're actually working from the root cause, from the bottom of the pyramid to the physical, the top. If that makes sense.
It does. Absolutely does. Absolutely. And just watching the different videos and listening to the different stories, and then knowing everything has the soul to the heart, to the mind, and that pathway, it really made me think and wonder, am I in alignment with my own spiritual path, with my own purpose as a healer, with what I'm doing, or does my soul want something else that's different to be expressed out? So food for thought for me. I'm going to definitely look at that and work on it. How can people get in touch with you for this amazing healing to help them restore back to that wholeness, that completeness through the light energy vibrational frequency?
Thank you so much, Da. So I can be reached at queerlovelight@gmail.com. So that's queerlovelight@gmail.com. That's the podcast that I host every week, for the LGBTQ community. And I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to be able to share more if you're interested to learn more. And I would be very, very happy to have a one-on-one with anybody who's interested to learn more about this. And on another note, this coming Saturday, actually, February the 18th, is actually our monthly Tao Hands training. For anybody who is interested to actually receive this training. It's only a one-day training, and you'll receive the Tao Hands transmission, and you'll be able to apply it for self-healing right away, like how I did when I received it myself. And if I may add, when I received Tao Hands, the first person that I applied the healing on was actually my own mother. Wow. I shared about, how maybe I can help my mom. And sure enough, as soon as I got my training, my mom suffered a fall, and had a really severe back pain, and she's all the way in Malaysia. And I just, offered her some healing, 5 minutes over the phone. The next day, she couldn't sit, she couldn't sleep, she couldn't eat. The pain was so severe. But the next day, she bent over, picked up the pen, she dropped on the ground, and realized, wait a minute, there's no more pain.
There you
go. It was just like 5 minutes of healing that I offered her over the phone. And I was just fresh off the boat, per se, from the training. And I didn't really know what I was doing, because she was my first client, per se. So it absolutely works. And I was so grateful that I was able to help my mom, right away. So I really encourage anybody who's curious, interested to check it out. And this Saturday, we're having our one-day workshop, and it just takes one day of your life to tap into your own power of self-healing.
Love it. I love it, love it, love it. All right, everybody, reach out to Desiree, and I'm going to put all of that information into the show notes, including the links to the different videos that we mentioned and that we talked about that she's produced filmmaking wise. And also stay tuned, because we have a part 2 coming. So that will be released out this next Thursday at the same time. So you guys want to tune in for that bonus episode, because what we're going to be sharing and talking about is how she's been healing through the different filmmaking and with what she's watched and witnessed with all of the different people that she's talked with. So for everybody else, just remember to always go create that beautiful day.